Hello, 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 fans, followers. Thank you for stopping by, stepping in, sticking around. We are continuing on City Skylines. This is a game with multiple city building options from industry to residential and commercial and everything in between. You manage all kinds of expenses and budgets and calamities and disasters, and you do your best for what's best for your city to survive. You can also do other weird stuff, which eventually I will try to do in the future. Unusual builds that I've seen on YouTube. I've got my own ideas that are developing. So again, like, subscribe, and follow for more content, as you will certainly enjoy this series and this game. Thanks again for stopping by, stepping in, sticking around. Enjoy City Skylines. Hello, 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 fans, followers. Thank you for continuing with me on Las Palmas, City Skylines City. I've been building, and yes, I am starting in the milestone screen. I had previously recorded this episode or I thought I was recording this episode, so I played through it as if I was recording, only to find out that the recording was not there, so I'm not sure what happened. Lost the recording, so I did what I could post recording. I recorded some of it after a lot of it was developed, so most of what I did I'm not going to be able to show, but as far as the content, all I really did was establish the garbage service, healthcare, and education, and I talked a little bit about those. I discussed the budget with those as well, and so you saw me place the landfill site and the medical clinic and the elementary school. There is no recycling center or community school. Those are both with DLC, which will not be in this video. So moving forward on this one, I also showed that I have possible new areas to unlock, and I'll demonstrate that here in a moment. So as I continue, this is part of the previous episode that didn't get recorded. This part was after the playthrough, towards the end of the recording. When I realized the recording either was stopped or lost, I ended up hitting record that, so it recorded backwards. So I'm just going to go over that real quick, but I was trying to shape the neighborhood. What I call later on, I'll give a name to characterized neighborhood. So when you're setting various angles, you try to go about halfway, place the angle, lock, and then continue the direction you want to go, and it will angle for you. So that's kind of what you saw me demonstrate there. So I was placing the four-way as a main highway. I used that little X thing that you saw. That was exactly 48 mini tiles, or 48 squares, from the center of that cross that was there a moment ago to the center of the next main intersection going in that direction, which I think would be the edge of the I think that would be the edge of the semicircle, or not the semicircle, but the circle intersection, the roundabout. So that's kind of what the cross was for, and I use that as guides. I know I'm making a characterized neighborhood here, but I use guides to tell me where the major intersections need to come across, so that way at least the area is still within a specific zone grid, so I still keep it somewhat grid marked or grid referenced, and still go a little bit crazy on creating characterized neighborhoods. There you can see me starting 4 tiles off the road. I do that when I know that in the future, when I place buildings there where there's zones, I don't want specific sides of specific roads to be zoned. You can control which roads have which zones. So by creating a 4 tile difference, I'll go back, I'll put a road there, and then that way I can keep that small segment of the road with no zones. I do that for limiting the zone conflicts. You'll see a lot of zone conflicts. If you guys have ever seen zone conflicts in your city setups, it's check out the tip here I'm going to go over here shortly, but I'll explain how to control which side of the road gets the zones and why I do that. So especially comes useful again with characterized neighborhoods. So again, as it continues on, All this was part of episode 2, so I already placed the education. You'll see it in the screen when it zooms out. I've already placed the school as well as the landfill at the beginning of the episode that was supposed to be recording prior to what you're seeing now. So currently all I'm doing is talking over after edit, making sure I explain all this in between. When you're placing roads, you have all these different snap options. That's what you see me pulling up, different snap options. You just have to remember to change them. It can be annoying, but it's also very useful. So you just have to get used to changing the snap tools back and forth. As annoying as I find certain ones like the angle, it's very useful depending on what you're trying to do. Notice some of my roads are 90-degree block square angles, and that's because I'm using the angle for some of those to make sure it's better, I guess, more efficient for placing streets, certain angles, and then using those that are angled to create curves. Uh, so as it continues, a few more roads I'll place here, a few more added curves. Curves do have a setback. You can't really fill in the gap completely with neighborhoods or zoned areas. You can come in later on and place specific buildings that are larger than the zones, um, like schools and stuff like that. Hospitals much larger than the medical center. I also placed the medical center towards the beginning of the video that didn't get recorded. Um, but for now, I'm just trying to create this guy's neighborhood, trying to get the zones set up, trying to create which sides of which streets get the zones. And here in a moment, I'll explain all that and what I'm doing. I'll slow down and explain all that in better detail. But for the most part, all of these, most of this area will be residential. And I just want to make sure the residential will give me at least, at minimum, 2x2 tile houses. So that's also the reason why. And I don't do, I'll mention this many times over, but I don't do single tile zone structures unless there's multiple row, unless the single tile makes sense. Multiple single tiles side by side along stretch, then I'll do a single tile buildings. But that's very rare for me to see me do that. So, what else just to talk about? Besides zoning, filling in the specific zones on the tiles, you'll also eventually I'll have paths and walls, and I mentioned that later in this video when it slows back down and I talk over everything. Use paths and walls to block off certain zones on either side. So if you can't necessarily decide which side of the street, or you can't control which side of the street gets the zones, or it's too complicated to make the nodes and stuff like that, you can also use paths and walkways. So as it goes back to the milestone here in a minute, it will continue with the regular video as I conclude the episode 2 that should have been recorded, and then I'll move on with episode 3 middle and continue on with this video. Also, I make sure that the main streets going into a neighborhoods are usually have commercial. So I like the commercial along the main streets, so people have the shops and stuff on their way home from work. They stop at the shops or whatever, and then every now and then I'll put smaller commercial zones in the middle of the neighborhood. But for the most part, it's on the main streets, and then all the inside of the neighborhood is residential. So as it goes back to the milestones here in a moment, I'll continue talking with the regular video. Moving forward for episode 3, I'll demonstrate these as well. So with episode 3, we'll get districts and policies, and then second loan. The last video I did get a loan as well to help me purchase some of the buildings that I had. So I demonstrated that, but all you get is 20,000, and then you have to pay back part of it, and you can pay back the loans early as well. But district specializations, and those are the generic district specializations. There's also new industry specializations, but those are with the industry DLC, so again, those won't be covered on this video. Residential specialization with self-sufficient buildings is also DLC with green cities. Organic and local produce is green cities. And over this, we'll also discuss new policies with power usage and water usage. It's just simple policies to turn on those to save money in the city. And then you will also get the firehouse and the police station. So all that will be covered in the episode 3 portion of this video. But to conclude episode 2, this will be cut, and this will go ahead of episode 2, and then I'll conclude episode 2 and then move on toward the village here as we discussed. So to continue with what I was doing with episode 2, go ahead and pause this so the city doesn't develop and grow. I placed the landfill here. As you can see, I extended the road. This is different from episode 1. So again, this is concluding, or this is the initial part of episode 2, so this would be following episode 1. So as you can see, I added this. I also added side streets. I mentioned in episode 1 I wanted to fix my industry. I didn't necessarily have to bring the road going east-west farther south. I just was able to add the roads going northwest, and as you can see, the water still covered them, and the space in between was covered as well. There's plenty of space for both streets, and then the main street, it doesn't have much industry. They're all on the side streets. So more zones will be, or more industry will be growing out of that. And shows that I've got power demand, and I could tell by looking at the city there should be power, and if there's not, there's only one reason. So we'll go into budget real quick, and that's just something I just barely noticed. Jump that up to 90, from 70 to 90. And it's currently paused so I could get everything caught up because of the gap. But I added in that episode 2 that didn't get recorded, I added new residential here. I talked a little bit about zoning, and I will go over it again because I think I missed part of that. But you can dictate where your zones go, and I did a little bit of that. I kind of demonstrated in the video that I thought was recording how you could determine which roads the zones go on. So I'll do that again here in a moment, but that's what I was doing here, and that way you can control which roads have which zones, and that way zones aren't being conflicting. But I also was demonstrating a little bit of how to shape neighborhoods and try to keep the neighborhoods somewhat in unison. So you can see I've got a grid where this road here kind of follows through to this point right here. It's almost a straight line. It's just, it curves off to the side. So ignoring this fact that the street curves, if you follow this straight line right here with your eyeball, it goes pretty much to here. And if you turn this around and just go at a 90-degree angle from here, it pretty much goes to, I think, not necessarily the center. I think the straight line would be like two marks off or something. But I was showing that you don't have to necessarily keep a straight grid all the time. So I was showing just being creative, and I know that it kind of looks like a bit of a sloppy curve here. Maybe I could fix that here as I'm talking. I don't mind curves. I don't know about sloppy curves. Sloppy curves kind of look unattractive, I guess. But it's easy to fix. So quickly do that real quick, and then so go to curve, go to here, take the angle off, leave everything else on, take this off until I decide what I want to do with this part of the road. Go straight out for a little bit and get curved back in. And I can either go all the way here. Maybe the reason why it was sloppy because I didn't go all the way there. if I recall. So you just kind of eyeball it, or let's go all the way there. Just making it easy for now. And then this gives a little bit more character to the neighborhood. I could still, I think I was going to add a street here, and so go ahead and do that real quick, and then continue to get everything caught up. I don't want the four-way street, just this one. And then maybe I was going to add one. So that'll go there. Maybe I should just add one here as well. Just a little bit different creativity in making your neighborhoods, but if you look at it, it's all still within the confines of a square, what the grid was, for the most part. And then, see what else I was mentioning. So I did place the landfill, medical services. So with the medical services, you place the hospital if you could, if you have the money. I don't. I'm shy of it at least at half, if not more, a little bit more than half to go. I could get the loan for that, but I don't. Not at the moment. So instead of the hospital, you go with the medical clinic. Medical clinic, can choose either one. They both don't have any meaning over the other one. They both do the same thing. It's just one looks different than the other, so it's depending on your preference. And then also education, I added a school. I've got two schools, both are elementary, so we'll cover this neighborhood fairly well. And then all this comes with the DLC, so don't really need to go over that right now. It'll be covered later. Also with the medical and education, you get another option for a hospital will unlock later, and then you get another option for so elder care and child care and cemetery also come with the medical tab, and those get covered later on. But just a quick mention with elder care, it extends the life of your elders and your seniors. Child care extends the health of your children. So when they reach the adulthood, they're at a healthier status. They have a healthier lifespan at adulthood. So then their lifespan as an adult lasts longer, and then that way they get to senior age later. So if you have both elder care, child care, and then regular health care, your citizens in your city will last longer than if you're missing any one of those. If you're missing any one of those, then of course that stage of their life will be shorter, while the other stages will still be longer. If you have all three, though, it will contribute to a longer lifespan for your citizens. So again, all that was covered last video. Talked about the neighborhood and the zoning. So to continue on, hopefully I've covered everything that I should have covered in the video if it was recording. To continue on, dictating which roads get which, and this is where it comes in more handy. All this over here, if the roads are in grid to each other, the conflicts of the zones won't necessarily make much of a difference. The tiles will still be covered either way. It's just it depends on where the driveway of the building goes to, and if the driveway of the building goes to one road or another, to some people that might make a difference. To others, it might not. To me, it is, just because I don't know. I'm sure I'll have a reason why I make a deal about it. Oh wait, give me a second. Why I want to delete these and rezone it so these houses come in bigger. This was because of when the school was there. I think it didn't let them. I had the school here. Of course, you wouldn't know that because it was when it was recorded. I moved the school over here to help with the power distribution. So now that I did that, those will grow back in larger house. They were missing the one tile going deeper, or one tile wider. So back to what I was mentioning here. The zones, when you're laying a road of any type, and you go into snapping options, and you look over here with the zoning control, the line in the middle, I don't want this. The line in the middle is the road itself, represents the road. Right and left isn't always right and left of the road, because it depends on how the road was built at the time it was built. So I can't necessarily remember how I built each road, but I'll demonstrate later when I'm actually building a road. But when you're going in and you're trying to update a road in the future after it's been laid, like for instance this road right here, I'm not sure which side it's on, but I want both sides of this road to be zoned. So it's not going to make much of a difference. So I keep that zoned, go to upgrade, I have the road selected, and you hit that right there and it adds to it. I don't want both sides of this road zoned because I want this zone right here to come off of this street. That way it's kind of in unison with the houses that are going to go here. So if I want it to come off this street, I'm going to leave that street alone, but I'm going to remove, or I'm only going to add the zone, I'm hoping, to the right side. If I built it from this direction going forward, then it will add to the right side, which shows the grid, but don't always trust that grid box. That grid box will sometimes throw you off, and I still understand why it's not always accurately representing which side it affects, but that will be different. But if I go ahead and place that, it does place the grid there, so the zones, I was correct on this side, but I'll go up. So if I wanted to, I can only zone the right side of the road and leave the left side blank, but I'm going to go ahead and go back in here, go both sides again, and then do that, and then do that, and then that one tile there will kind of bug me. I'll worry about it later. So here'd be another example. I'm going to do both sides of this road and continue both sides of this road. But I think because of that curve right there, I'm only going to do the right side. I'm going to do the right side of this road, if it's the right side. Nope, actually I think it'll be the left side. Yeah, so this is because I started from this intersection building the road this direction. So in that respect, it is the right side of the road. If you turn the camera and look at it, that's the side of the road that put it on, not the side I wanted. So take that off, and just to demonstrate, and I'm not sure if it was recorded in what I did last video or at the beginning of the episode, you can't necessarily go from one side to the other. If you have one side zoned and not the other, and you want to swap it, it won't let you swap it. You have to de-zone both sides and basically reset the road, and then you go back in and choose the side you want. And I'm not understanding why, but it's been like that as long as I can tell. So this side, I'm not going to zone the left or the inside. I'm just going to zone the outside. And later on, I might switch this up, because right now we're obviously at the edge of the map. If I grow, which I could add one tile right now, I'll go over that in a moment. I could add one tile right now, so I could go that direction, but I don't know if I'm going to go that direction. So instead, I will just zone that side and let buildings move in. Yes, that is the right side of the road. And then this side I want both. As I mentioned, I limited that one, the zone from the other street. So again, it's colliding, but there's not much you can do. Well, there is options you could do, but we don't have them available. When you have roads, or not roads, when you have the little walkways, pathways, we don't have that yet until we open up landscaping, which comes at 1600 population, so you need about 600 population more, and I might get that once I get this video continuing. Actually, I think we will continue on episode 3. This should be episode 3 now. If I properly recorded episode 2, I would be now in episode 3. So hopefully we'll get that by the end of the video. But with the landscaping options, you have fences and you have pathways, and with those you can do you could use those to block the zones. and we'll go over that if they become available to us. But for now, just continuing with this road here, we're gonna build that in, and we're gonna fill that in. And I'm not gonna like, it'll be a conflict with this end, I believe. We're gonna leave this alone on the left side. Actually, we'll go do this right now. So this alone on the left side. So I'm gonna zone only the right side. And we're gonna zone both sides. And we're gonna zone only the right side. So you guys can see how it's pertinent to, why is that? I know what I did, because I'm upgrading them, it's changing. I only wanted the 2-lane road. So we'll go ahead and back fix this and fix this. There we go. And then we're gonna go and update this. Now there's a little gap there, and I would like to put something there. Either of these roads aren't gonna reach it. So if you want something like that, I'm sorry, I do have the sniffles today. Hopefully they go away. So go and update. That's why it's attaching somewhere else. So build a road there just to create a node, and then you're going to delete it. By deleting it, I will only affect the middle piece. I want both sides. Go to upgrade. And it's going to try to do both sides down here, so because I don't want both sides down there either, I'm going to do the same thing real quick. If it lets me, it might consider that too close, so it might have moved the node from one side to the other. Yep, it moved it from one side to the other, and it screwed up all that. So in a case like this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the zone off, that little tiny square right here, and that way it will let this zone from here come all the way down. It would just be a small gap in between without a building, and that's fine with me. That works better than trying to figure out which part of the street will have the zone or not, because it's not letting me do 2 different splits there. I wanted to break that junction into 3 bits to allow 3 different buildings to fully appreciate that space, but that's fine. So because I believe that's going to remove the left side. Nope, it removed the right. There will be an example where that box will mislead me in the future. This is what I was telling you earlier. So now that I want to reset, I want to move the zone from one side of the road to the other. It won't let me. Actually, I'm going to try it just to show you guys. So it won't let me. It's telling me I can't upgrade it. So then you got to go and reset it. Reset it by taking both zones off. Upgrade it. Then go back in, and I believe it's the left side. I could be wrong. Yes, that's what I wanted. It's the left side because I built the road again from this direction, from this intersection going this way. So that's why I put it on that left side. So now that I've got the zone fully on this road for this half of the block behind these buildings, I will be able to better upgrade this section. So go ahead and take that off. I'm actually thinking I'm going to put, I've got a lot of residential here now, so I'm going to throw some commercial in a couple blocks and then build residential around them. So as I continue that, again, it's confusing when you have curved streets, and I think initially I wanted to put that housing on the side street to the right, not Clark, but I might have made a mistake there, but that's fine. the commercial will work. So I'm looking around to see what else I could change for zones and add more commercial. Back to Young Street. I didn't get it finished because I went around the block the other direction. So it's going to put the neighborhood in the middle and try to cover that one spot. I don't want it to cover that one spot, so I'm going to try to create a node here, which I'm just going to delete. And then this side has both, it looks like. Yeah, I did it. And then this side I'm going to move those. So this street here has more control with the zones. And because of the angles, they're kind of colliding here in this corner. And what I'll do is I'll probably put a pathway right here. I'll create a pathway going across all the way. And then I'll cut into the path. One of these, at least, will lose part of there and come all the way down. That's fine with me. Usually I'll use paths, especially with angles like this when they're conflicting with each other. I'll kind of use paths to fill in a little bit. I'll probably end up putting a path. Let's get this so I get a smaller. Actually, I don't. I'll probably. Well, I wanted to at least show his cursor. I want to. There we go. I'll put a path right here, and I'll come in, and I'll either continue this way, or from here I'll try to fill in a little bit, but I'll probably take this zone section of squares with the path. But otherwise, I mean, you do what you can. You do what you're able to. That will likely fit a path. So I'll probably bring a path through here, and I could either keep it square with the edge of the zones that are square, or I could kind of curve it and give it a little bit more character in the neighborhood. Put some trees, a little bench there and stuff like that. Looks like somebody's moving in. But for now, actually, because I'm adding a lot of new houses over here, let's go ahead and add another school. And then a high school. Can we do a high school yet? I don't think we have the money for the high school yet. Actually, we can do a high school. Let's do a high school before the elementary. Nope, we can't do a high school yet. We can, actually. I didn't give myself enough space for the high school. So that's funny. I mentioned this in the last video, but probably didn't get recorded in episode 2. If you notice, the high school says with this high school it says reach population of 1,600, but it's still letting me actually build it, and I barely got 1,200, and I'm not sure why that is. But why argue, right? Why complain? It'd been nice if I could squeeze it in one of these areas. But all that work trying to figure out which buildings get in what zones, I don't want to undo all that now. Not at the moment, maybe later, but. So I'll put that there. Everybody's happy. They got higher education now. Not well educated, not yet, but that comes with the university. Now that I've spent the money on the high school, I can't necessarily buy an elementary, and I want an elementary. This would be a great time for a loan. So go into economic. I'll show you grabbing a loan real quick. I could take 2 loans actually. I did get the higher loan, the middle loan, with the opening of the 1,000. But we're just gonna. Oh wait. So here's another trick I do. So I owe 14,000 on this one. So I'm gonna take the global credit 60,000 loan, and I'm gonna put part of that back into this one. And then if I wanted the extra 20,000, I would take the new 20,000 loan now that it's paid. I'm not going to right now. Sometimes I do that with the lower loan. If you only have a few thousand, you can afford the lower loan, and you get the lower loan out. Then now you, with that lower loan money, you can pay off the higher loan. I do that as well, plenty of times. But for now, got the higher loan. We're going to put an elementary school, and we're going to put this. A lot of times I use these service buildings to fill in gaps that don't really make a whole lot of sense. I know there's a house coming in there, so I'm going to build this before the house gets built. Because I was thinking I was going to put a school here. Just because it was two small 2x3 size zoned houses that was going to move in there, I figured it would make more sense of the space if I added the school there and covered those. So that's what I did that for. Of course I cut into that guy's house. He's not happy, but... So we're going to take these zones off that house. He'll only get a 2x4 house, but that's fine. Later on I'll put rocks and decoration here. It's angled, so it's going to give weird shapes. You just work with it. And again, I don't like single square tile zones. Unless they're literally on the street, but even then, half the time I don't do single tile zones. For example, this right here would be a single tile building, and I don't care for those that much. It would make sense here, but then it would be all by itself among the rest of the houses. So to me, I'm just going to leave that blank. Later, I might put a tree or a rock there or something like that. These will never work. Unless by chance there's a 3x2 house that moves in here. And then you might get a 1x3 house that would move in here, and still, to me, it would look tacky. So I'm not going to do that either. So I'm going to leave those blank. I'm going to come in here. I'm only going to go 3 tiles deep. I'm going to use that extra space for a trail in the future. One of these will lose, but for now I'm going to, well, let's go ahead and decide which one. And I think I'll go ahead and do this. So eventually I'm going to put a trail through here, go sideways, left to right, and then the trail will continue down here as well. And I'm not going to zone those two. There's no point in the 2 tiles. Oh, I paused it because I was trying to reset the school. I paused it because of the school. I'm not going to zone that 1x3, so I'll use that space as a trail. Now, it wouldn't make sense to have 2 different trails side by side, but you just kind of work with what you got. I'll probably put a trail. I'll start the trail right in the middle of these two, and I'll come out of this way, and then come down here. We'll connect the other trail. And, I never did put zones off this street. Let's go ahead and get zones off this street. Hopefully this is properly the proper direction. And because of that one, I'm gonna leave that there. So we don't want the zone off the first half of the street, so I'm going to put a node here, and then delete that. Take that zone. Oh no, we want the node to be on the left. Wait, is that left or is that the other street? I guess we'll find out. Yep, that's what I want. Just like that. So this one has no zones on either side of this street right here. This street has the zones, and this street has the zones. Again, if that makes any sense to you guys. I'd say go ahead and nod at me, but I wouldn't be able to see you. So, comment, leave a message down below. Tell me what you guys think. Is this useful information for you? Or am I just blabbing on? Hopefully I've kept some of your attention. So we're gonna update. It might be the wrong side. Let's see if it's the wrong side or if it's accurately depicting. Yes, see, it had the zone to the left, but for whatever reason, it still gave it to me on the right. Now, I don't want this colliding, and that's going to for now until I can get a pathway and walls. But I'll use the walls to divide this so I can at least get more even zones on this side and an even zone on this side. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and work with what I got on this side. And I know I'm going to cut into that in the future, so I'm only going to do 3 tiles deep, so I don't at least have to wreck these guys' homes in the future. I will do the 4 tiles deep on this one. There's plenty of space there, might as well use it. And then just go ahead and use the fill option for these. That's going to be, I can either do 2 by 3 deep or 3 by 2 wide. I think I'll do the 3 by 2 wide. Oh no, actually, I was thinking earlier, I mentioned I was going to put a pathway here in the middle. So I'll do it deep, 2 by 3 deep. Just like that. And leave the other slot there. Again, that's kind of weird. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I suppose if I redirect the zones and take it off this street and this street, I could probably have more solid zones off the four lane street, but it's fine how it is. Because the cut the angle here, I'm not gonna zone these back roads, so I know I could put a trail there, which worked for me. I'll go ahead and speed through the rest of this, not drag this out as much. I know I've been dragging it out a little bit, but again, I just want to make sure I get everything covered. But there are a few silent gaps as I get focused and I go silent or I'm fast forwarding. So I take a moment to explain things. But a lot of the reason why I do this is because, well, never mind. So I will cut this with the path, which will hopefully give this square back to the zones here. That's kind of annoying right now. So again, as I can try to explain, the reason why I specify specific zones on the roads is because of the conflicts you've seen, how some of those zones will conflict with each other. I'm sure you guys have seen that plenty of times. As I mentioned before, they conflict with each other even when they're squared together. They'll still conflict with each other, it just won't be as noticeable. But I try to dictate which streets get which zones, so that way I'm in more control where the growth is and the buildings build up. Oh, yeah, I went to the left. There we go. See, the zone box is to the left of the road right now, but it actually affected the right side. Again, I think that might be just because of the direction. But even if it is the direction of the road being built, it should have at least put the box on the side it was going to affect. But so the directions can be misled depending on what side the direction the road's built, but where it puts the box is what always confuses me. Again, I don't know why it does that, but do what you can. Work with what you got. Now, the node isn't all the way down, and it would be ideal if it was actually closer to the street. See where the difference is between the boxes. So when I build this zone, it's going to have that gap. Am I going to worry about that? Not really. I could probably fill that in with put a building here or something later on. At the moment, I'm not going to worry about it. So if I do something here, it's going to combine or conflict with the zones north of that. So I'm just going to leave this. I want the right side, I hope. I hope that's accurate. Yes. And then obviously this. That way all this zones here are to the side street, not the main street. And then, no, I'm going to leave that alone for right now. I know that's weird. This looks kind of weird. And a lot of times you could explain the weird curves when you have rocks and trees. And I'll probably eventually maybe put a rock here or something like that, as if I was moving that rock there up closer to the road. Maybe put a rock over here or something. Eventually, I'm thinking I'm going to continue these two side streets going in this direction. I'm not going to do it right now, but just demonstrate. I'll probably do something like this and something like this. So that way it still looks like a four-way intersection. But right now it just looks weird because of the weird curve. But that's just, that's just how you partly make curves and create weird characterized, I call it characterized neighborhoods. Go ahead and fast forward through this. So another reason why, another thing with rocks, you can also combine multiple rocks together. It won't be able to replace one rock on top of another rock completely, but if you put them side by side, you blend the edge of the rocks together, it will allow that. So sometimes that one area where that rock was that's just beyond the other border, I'll add a second or third rock there once I unlock that and have rocks available. So, uh, so to explain what I did there, I know I'm slowing it back down. To explain what I did there, I could go 2x3 and have more space on the road, have residential driveways, but then I'm losing two by two up here because this wouldn't make sense if it was 2x3 here. So I'm going to keep the 2x4 deep and take off the 2x1 here, and then I'll probably make a pathway. And if I eventually evolve down here, I'll add another continuation neighborhood down here. But there is the freeway there as well, so there's not a whole lot of room there. But that's kind of what I did there. So anyways, I get the rest of those zoned. Yeah, I got the rest of those zoned and continue working a little bit more zones. Not much to talk. Everybody's complaining about water. Those complaints are getting pretty deep. Actually, I don't want housing there. Most main streets, I usually put the commercial instead. I know I got a lot of commercial. I don't really need this commercial, but I'm going to put it there anyways, just so it's there. Let's get these people's water taken care of and get on with the rest of this video. Again, I try to keep a grid. I know it gets funky and it gets complicated when keeping a grid when I've got curved roads, but I do the best I can to keep the water centralized with the road instead of just straight across. And this is where it might get more annoying or more difficult for some to understand, but that's just, I try to keep it with the roads as best I can. And unfortunately with pipes you cannot curve. You don't get engineering options with pipes. I don't know why. I guess in real life it'd be kind of hard to make a curved pipe, but we see them under our sinks all the time, so it's possible. They just didn't do that with the game. So if I somehow figure out how to go up the middle, it would just be so easy to go right across the houses, but to me it would be like, I'd rather keep it under. There we go, 1600. I'll go over that in a minute. And make sure we covered everything that came with the little village or whatever it was, the previous milestone. So I don't have to fill in all the links of the pipe as long as it covers everything in the middle. What did we get? A lot of homes, that's for sure. Milestones. So with this, we opened up park areas, industry areas, landscaping, event policies, park policies. We also opened up new services with leisure industry areas, level 2 unique buildings and football stadium. We got new policies. All those, that's a lot to read. I'm not going to necessarily go over all that, but I'll read the names. You've got pet ban, smoking ban, parks and recreation, schools out, prefer parks, park maintenance boost, subsidized youth, come one, come all, match security, animal ethics, advertisement campaign, main park, fine for fireworks, celebrate, night tours, even more fun, recycle garbage, improved logistics, improved work safety supervision, and advanced automation. Now, just to point out, most of those, some of those, not most, but some of those, at least give or take half and half, are with some DLC, and I'm not going to necessarily try to isolate which ones are which. But if you're playing your game and you're looking, oh, I don't have that policy. Why don't I have that policy in Tiny Town? Just so you know, it's probably with the DLC if you don't have it. And then a lot of Park Pass, I'm not going to necessarily read all those, but they all come with a lot of the new DLC zones. We got new canals. Most of those come with... some of those are available with the vanilla, but some of those are only available with, I think, Green Cities or Parks something. Parks Life. New fences. Most of those fences only come with different zones that they have names to. Like the farm fence would be part of the farm industry zone, the specialized, and we got a bunch of new buildings. Although most of those come with new zones and new DLC. So, what did we finish last time? I was supposed to go through districts. So now we got a nice little community. We'll go ahead and place a district using the paint district tool, and I'm just going to cover this whole district real quick and then I'll talk about it. So fast mode, and you can do all kinds of different things with different districts. I only usually typically talk about district policies. I'll mention here in a moment about industry specialties, but for the most part, all of this I could have gone in and talked about specialties for the residential when I forget to. I see a lot of crime faces popping up. Do I not? You know what? I don't. Ah! So that was another thing that unlocked with the previous I was supposed to try to cover in this video. So we'll go ahead and place a police department. Keep in mind, any emergency, any service building, whatever it is, if it's the landfill, it sends out trash trucks, or if it's a cemetery sending out hearses, or fire trucks, or ambulances, police cars, whatever it is. If you put a service building on a median road like this, your cop car is only turning right. In real life, I have seen cop cars, fire trucks, emergency vehicles go over medians, but in this game, they will not do that. They will not go over the median. So if you put the police station right here, if I zoom out, it's still pretty good coverage because it is the main road, but it's going to still delay the response time from them getting up to the north end. They would likely turn here. What if I put it way over here? It's not showing a good example right now, but I do know for a fact that the cop cars and fire trucks and ambulances will only mind the traffic, direction of traffic according to the medians. To them, it's like a one-way road. They're turning onto a one-way road. They're only going to go in the direction of that one road. If you are left-hand driving, if your map is set for left-hand driving, then they'll turn left here, and then they won't be able to go right. So if they wanted to go right, if it's a firehouse and there's a fire next door, literally the next building over, they would turn right, find the next closest spot to U-turn, come all the way up around here to the next spot they can make a U-turn, and come all the way back down here just to go one door down. So I don't put emergency services where a road has a median unless the median, like if it's literally in the middle of the median. If I put it right here, oh wait, stay still. Ah, you kind of get my idea, right? If I put it right here in the middle and it pulls out to the right, it's going to hopefully it would U-turn here and then we'd come over here. To me, that wouldn't be that as bad, but I still wouldn't do that in the middle of a city. I would more or less like to find right there. So not only can he left, right on the side street, Layton Street, he can go left to right, but going left, he now has access to the intersection, giving him left and right on Walnut Boulevard, if that makes any sense to you guys. So, and that's the same thing with any service vehicle. To me, it's most important with emergency vehicles. Sometimes I'll put cemeteries and landfills and stuff like that. The post office, I'll put those on a medium. I don't necessarily worry about them as much. But if it's a long medium drive, um, that's not even that long of a medium drive. But let's say I had a long, all those are broken by intersections. If I just had, like, I don't know, a 40 tile line road that was median and no intersections in between for whatever reason, it was out in the country and I had a landfill out there or something like that, I would make sure I at least broke the road somewhere in the middle where I was going to put the landfill, and then make sure that the road, the direction the car turns off of the road turns into the intersection. That way you can U-turn if needed. Let's go get the fire stations built. So police, I put the police over where the residents are, help protect the residents. Eventually I'll span it out. I'll have two more, but I'll usually put the fire truck over here, and that way the um, industrial zone is more prone to fires. It can still respond over here. It's going to take a little bit because my gigantic circle that I put in the middle. But I don't think we're gonna. If I'm wrong, eventually I get a fire in that one of these houses, then I'll correct it and I'll put the another firehouse over here if I need it. But for the moment, I definitely noticed that I'm getting crime waves. So I'm gonna get those police going. What else were we gonna talk about? I want to make sure I at least cover everything with the previous DLC that was supposed to be covered in 3. So we've gotten to Tiny Town, but I want to make sure I cover Worthy Village. Got the second loan out, it showed that. District specializations. So we were talking about districts initially. Come back in here, go over here. So with districts, you could come in and you can, well, first hold on. I did pause the game, right? No, I want to pause the game. Okay, come over here. We're gonna mess with city policies now. Hopefully you guys are still with me. Thank you again for stopping by, stepping in, sticking around. Trying to get this wrapped up here shortly, and I appreciate you guys showing up. So all these policies, I believe most of these are available with vanilla. If I notice any that are not, I will point them out. So everything, so harsh prison sentence is available with vanilla. Everything below that, all this mentioned right here, any of those, if you get the DLC and you haven't seen anybody go over them yet, just read the descriptions, and they pretty much explain in the descriptions. So I'm not going to necessarily go over all those right now. Power usage is good for citywide. Water usage good for citywide. Smoke detector distribution citywide. I don't worry about the pet ban, not at the moment. I'll put the pet ban with cheaper homes, low budget homes, later on, because they reduce the garbage. And I don't know why you use pet bans, but sometimes I use them with certain homes, and then other high-end homes I'll allow the pets to be there, because I'll try to increase the taxes. So anything that gives luxury and happiness, improves happiness, I'll add those to higher tax zones to try to offset the unhappiness from the higher taxes. And I think it does kind of help. Smoking ban. So I'll put smoking ban later on the lower budgets. Parks and recreation. I want to make sure all the parks in the city are, all these are citywide. Taxes, we've got different policies here, city policies referring to taxes, and I'll go over these later on when I do a specific zoning specific areas for specific purposes. Again, all these city planning will be discussed later. You get everything up through Old Town, comes with vanilla. Everything below Old Town, including lightning rods and going down, all this is with new DLC. With events, you get all 3 of these with the vanilla. So that's all about policies citywide. Now the reason why I did that then, because when I make a specific zone, I could come in here. So despite what the policies are set citywide, I could come in here and I can be like, no, we're going to take this off, or no, we're going to take this off. I'm going to actually leave those on for the housing. But say I want a smoke ban for the residential or whatever. They have cheaper taxes. I could let them have decreased happiness, you know, increase their health or whatever. School's out. Just put them to work right now. They'll still go through elementary and I think high school, but they'll ignore most of them. As it says below above, the citizens will prefer working over education. Only a small portion of the eligible citizens will go to study in the university. So this will still go through high school, but after high school, most of these will just go to work. Some of them will still go to the university. I don't have a university place right now. And then the richer, high-end residential, when I do those, which opens up later, then I will give them education boost and not schools out, so that way the higher folk get an education boost. So that's why I'll do something specific with residential. And then if I come over, I think, nope. Not really anything specific here unless I actually go and make a specific zone. But if I wanted to, I would do, like, once city planning options open up, I would do big business benefactor for the industrial. I think this opens with DLC. I can't remember. Yeah, this and high-tech housing, I believe, come with DLC. But high-rise ban, heavy traffic ban, encourage biking. Heavy traffic ban is also good for the residential neighborhood. You keep the trucks out of the residential. Encourage biking. Ban on bikes. Bike ban on sidewalks. Those are also available with. High-tech high-rise might be with vanilla. I can't remember actually. If I'm wrong there, you can correct me down below. Because all the rest of these, I don't see why high-tech housing would not be. But I don't remember actually seeing it. Either way, I've had DLC for a while, so my mind is diluted with only DLC, I guess. Back to industry. So some of these I put on industry, and then with industries you can also get offices. Eventually you can combine offices and industry together. So I would add tax relief for offices inside industrial zones. And then as far as anything here, I'd put recycling and probably nothing else except for any of these that might add with DLC I might use. So there's not many, but the reason why you zone these, if I wanted to come in and say I've got forest building up over here, I've got the oil pit. I know that by looking at the terrain, all these, yeah, looking at the terrain, I've got oil here in the future. So if I wanted to oil there, or if I extended this industrial zone for the oil only, I would come over here and tap this and put this on Lilac Square. I could put farming or forestry, but there's nothing here for either farming or forestry. I'm not gonna, no, because I've dragged on the video already, I'm not gonna necessarily do any specific industrial zones. I'd put farming out here probably. And in the next video I might do that, just because this video was messed up having to conclude part 2 or video episode 2. What else with milestones? No. So we concluded, I'm hoping to conclude There's some unique buildings. We went over the policies, district specializations, services, policies. We went over some districts, barely briefed on them at least. It's hard to brief on districts without actually demonstrating districts. So we could open up a new zone I could select, and I wasn't sure in the last video. Hopefully it recorded at least a full hour. I sometimes don't notice when the recording stopped because I blab on. Obviously I need to focus on my time management, but I get carried away on what I'm doing in the videos, especially when I know I'm going to fast forward through half of that. It's hard to remember to continue recording. So I think there might be a gap in lack of recording there just because the recording stopped. Hopefully this covers the end of the video at least, but I could open up one of these. I'm not sure which one. I would think I was going to open up this one, but I'll leave that up to you guys since I am making the city for you guys. Hopefully you guys can give me some commentation down below. What zones should I open up? With that though, in the next video we will continue with... We concluded Tiny Town in this video, finishing episode 3. And so all this here, seen below, opened up, and we'll go over all this in the future. Some of this is with DLC, but some unique buildings. I've got some of these buildings available I can build. There's a lot there. I'm not going to necessarily go over all of them right now. Looking forward to the future going forward. Boomtown will get, hopefully we get airport areas might be the zone, and that comes with the airport DLC, so I'll try to focus if I get to that eventually. I'm not going to worry about that unless for the actual airport building without those zones. A lot of this comes with new DLC, so hopefully I could be able to keep it to non-DLC or vanilla only. Thanks again for stopping by, stepping in, sticking around, and thanks for visiting. Have a good day. City Skylines. Thanks again for stopping by, stepping in, sticking around. This is just simply showcasing all the different cities I've been doing, and just kind of a reminder that it's an all-around city building game. I really enjoy this game that I've been playing, and I've got multiple cities as you can see here, and I have since, besides the DLC that I purchased, I've since downloaded the remastered version. So stick around, follow, and like for more content. There will be more in the future.
Thank you, Jesus, for your mercy and grace upon my life. I pray all those who see this reach out to you one day. Thank you to the game developers of these games and more for the products you make. Keep up the good work. Last but certainly not least, thank you to all my fans, friends, and followers for stepping in, sticking around, and checking out these games with me. God bless.